You're listening to Exploring Anime with Friends, a JMO for Real podcast on YouTube, Spotify, Apple, and all major podcasting networks. I'm your host, JMO! And today's friend is my wife and co-host. How's it going today, Sarah?
Hi, everyone. It's going great today.
Excellent, excellent. Are you all excited for today's edition of Exploring Anime with Friends Movie Edition?
Oh, this is an interesting one for sure.
Yeah, most definitely. Today we'll be diving into the world of Night on the Galactic Railroad, an eerie journey of discovery, released in July of 1985, based off of the works of Miyazawa that were produced back in 1934. First, we will learn about our main character, Giovanni, his world, and what he is going through. Afterwards, we will see how a train drives in one night mysteriously and the journey that he takes, meeting some of the fascinating events and characters along the way. Then we will explore something a little bit on the unique side for us. There was a lot of Eastern meets Western religion and culture weaving throughout this, so we're going to look into that for a moment and explore some of the things that made this a lot more unique than the average movie that we have covered on this show. And finally, we will go into a point of hard spoilers because we truly believe that this is one of those ones that you cannot talk about effectively without actually sharing the end, and that this is one that you probably have to watch a couple of times to catch everything in it. And if you like what you're hearing today, remember to check us out on social media, like, subscribe, and follow that button right down there. All right. Giovanni. Talk to us a little bit about Giovanni and give us the setting that we're in.
So our story takes place in this rustic Italian village. Our little friend Giovanni is a cat, and everyone in this village is also cats.
Yeah.
They're kind of cute. It's kind of hard to tell what their emotions are.
Yeah, that was the reasoning, because in the initial work that was published back in 1934 in a novella, it was published with humans, but like they took all those years to decipher because it was finished after the death of the author, Miyazawa. So the story is kind of really fascinating when it comes down to that. It took them like 50 years to really decipher what they were doing, what he wanted to portray with it, because it was an incomplete work. And they realized it was best portrayed without emotion.
I mean, cats can be very, very emotional.
Yes, but like they're also a familiar animal. Yeah,
Yes.
I guess they could have gone with a different type of animal, but
It's more the artwork style they chose for the cat, I think.
a dog wouldn't have worked.
Yes. So they're all cats, and they're all doing the whole village thing. So Giovanni keeps falling asleep in class, and like you can tell he's a good kid, but you don't know why he's falling asleep. And there's some bullies in his class. They're really poking fun at him.
Well, really, there's one major bully. It's Izanelli. So
Yes, there is.
And they're making fun of him probably because it seems like Giovanni's father always brought back a lot of cool things. Like he brought back a moose antlers for the school and other cool things. I think there was a tortoise shell or something like that.
They have like a case full of stuff that his dad's brought back.
Yeah, and he was supposed to bring him back an otter skin coat, and it's one of those things where I think the rumors going around that his father's getting arrested for like poaching otters or something like that.
Yeah.
When really it's unfounded at this point in time. They just know that he's late coming back. And Giovanni seems like the type of boy who probably said, my dad's going to bring me back an otter skin coat.
Because kids get excited.
Yeah, and Izanelli's probably the jealous bully type. And when his father doesn't start to come back and the rumors start to spread about him poaching and whatnot, he just keeps on. It's like, I heard your father's bringing you back an otter skin coat.
Where's that otter skin coat?
And I think that's what Izanelli is. And then there's Campanella, who stands up for Giovanni, right?
Yeah. Giovanni didn't know the answer the teacher had been searching for, and then calls on Campanella, who pretends to not know the answer as well, as kind of like a little solidarity thing. Like they have like a slight moment. It's hard to read because, again, these cats, the animation, the expressions are hard to see. But you could tell something happened there.
Well, I mean, I think it's intentionally done that way. I don't think it's because it's necessarily bad animation.
Oh, no, I didn't mean that.
It's not the peak of 1985, and it's still 1985 animation. So, like, you know, with a grain of salt and whatnot.
Yeah.
We're talking about this 40 years later or 41 years later. So
40, only 40.
40 and a half.
I'm only splitting hairs because I was born the same year this movie was made.
Oh, okay.
The movie's older than me.
Oh, that's funny. So the schooling ends, and you find out that this is the night of the Centaurus Festival, and that
Yes.
everyone's going to be sending lanterns off. And the teacher and Giovanni are walking out together, and he's like, "Are you going to go with your friends to the Centaurus Festival?" And Giovanni's like, "Well, I have to work." And he's like, "Oh, you should try to get there afterwards, right?"
Yeah.
That teacher was very
Teacher was nice.
right.
Yeah.
Like he wasn't going to let Giovanni slide with falling asleep in his class,
Fair.
but he almost is very fatherly to Giovanni,
Mm-hmm.
seeing him go through this hard time, because it's not only his father has gone away at this point. Well, tell us about his mother.
Oh, his mother's sick. We don't actually see her. We hear her voice. He's talking to her from like the kitchen living room area. You can see like part of her bed frame, but she's obviously sick. His sister has arrived back home. We're not really sure what his sister was doing beforehand based on the movie, but she made some tomato soup and it looked good because all anime food looks good.
Even 1985,
Even
not the
1985
greatest. Tomato soup.
tomato soup looks good. And the two are chatting back and forth, and you're like, okay, mom's sick, dad's who knows where, sister at least came home and like helped out, and you find out, gosh darn it, the milk that mom needs never got delivered.
Yeah, but even before that, Giovanni went to his job. You
Oh
want to
yeah.
tell us a little bit about that place? And
Oh, I mean, it's for the time and age, it probably wasn't a bad job, but there's just like this overall like melancholy, lonely feel to it. He worked at a printing press. He would be given like little manuscript, told just to go find the letters and put them in order, basically. And just between the music and the gentleman that was giving him the job that pretty much ignored him, it's just kind of like, wow, man, this is rough for this kid.
like he had one friendly coworker who was rooting for him. He said sport or champ or something like that.
Yeah.
Kid. I'm not sure what it was. It was upbeat and positive. But besides that, like it almost made you feel like you were like, what's that line from the Piano Man? Sharing a drink they call loneliness, but
Yeah.
it's better than drinking alone or
Yeah.
something, right?
That's a good, yeah, that's the vibe.
That's totally the vibe, but little less Billy Joel,
A little less Billy
more
Joel.
like, I don't know,
And a little
Linkin
more
Park.
Miyazawa. Well, yeah, that's fair. But yeah, that's his job. So after his job is when he does go home and he realizes there's no milk for mom and like she needs it. We're not sure why. She's probably just on a restrictive diet for whatever's ailing her. And he decides he needs to go do something about that. I'm assuming they pay for the milk. He gets paid for his job.
Right.
He buys a couple things on the way home. Obviously, they're not just giving away free milk.
Yeah.
So he goes to check it out.
And it's closed.
Yeah. There's a kind of creepy old lady there that tells him to come back later.
Creepy? No,
Nah, she was weird.
She was in bed. She was wearing her nightgown and her
No,
nightcap.
I don't think she worked there. I feel like this is part of where like the beginning of the weirdness starts. I don't think she worked there. She might have, because she didn't give him any answers. He was just like, "Oh, hey, we didn't get our milk delivery." She's like, "You'll have to come back later." And I was like,
Well,
"What is this deal?"
The weirdness really begins when the light starts to flicker and goes out when he passes it on the way back to the Centaurus
I mean,
Festival.
that's fair.
And he gets there and he sees everyone celebrating, going around in a circle, performing some sort of like folk ritual,
thing,
you know,
yeah.
whatever it was. I'm sure that honestly, with what we learned about this movie after watching it,
Oh yeah,
I'm sure that it was very accurate to something that would have been done during
significant
that time.
somewhere. Yeah,
Like,
Mhm.
I feel like he continually put in things. There's probably tons of things that we missed, and after he sees all the festivities going on and everything, Izanelli's kind of like, "Hey, have you shown up with like your otter skin
Where's
coat
your
and
otter
everything?"
skin coat, Giovanni?
Yeah, and the other ones are taunting, and Campanella's just kind of like upset because Campanella
He's
wants to be
obviously,
friends with everyone. He's a very caring,
Is.
kind person. He's a really
He's a
great
good
individual,
kid.
and he's someone who becomes a very important part of the whole thing, because after Giovanni runs away from the festival, he just goes to a hill where he can find some solitude and wait out the dairyman. And while he's there, a train pulls up out of nowhere. Talk to us a little bit about this train and this fateful encounter.
I mean, there's some serious Polar Express vibes going on. There is no track.
Right? I literally actually had to
You
look
did.
up. It's like, was the Polar Express inspired by Night on the Galactic Highway?
You did.
Railroad, not highway. Man, I keep on wanting to call it highway.
It's okay. So yeah, big Polar Express vibes. That's kind of where it stops, because the train magically appears out of nowhere, no track. It doesn't really show us like Giovanni's conclusion to just get aboard this random train that has magically appeared, but he boards it.
Yeah.
Little fanfare. They're just like 1 second he's looking at, the next second he's just on board.
And no station or anything. After he's on it, Campanella actually gets on it too. And Campanella's kind of like, he's holding a thing that maps out the journey. And Giovanni's like, where'd you get that? He's like, I got that at the station when I came on with my ticket. And it's like, really? There's a station? So now you're wondering if your boy Giovanni's even on here legally.
Yeah, what's going on with that?
Yeah, so talk to us about some of what we saw along the way, leaving out some of the later stuff.
Okay, this movie is very strange.
Yeah, well, I mean, it's the 1980s. Like, what can you expect, right?
It's very fair. There's a lot of weird, random stuff that happens. They're looking out the window, and it's like, it's the galaxy pretty much out there. And then they'll see this, I don't know what that green thing was.
It was constantly changing shapes. The line art for a changing shape pattern that was glowing green. So it was really cool looking.
It was cool, but I was like, what is this? People are constantly appearing and then disappearing randomly. And it's just like, what's going on here? One of the first things they come across is this beautiful field full of lunar flowers. And I'm like, oh, that's really nice and pretty. Nothing bad about that. That's just nice.
Yeah. And they continue to go through. And the next things after that is the Northern Cross they come across.
Just literally a cross that's kind of glowing.
This is where we start to see some of the Western influence. We already started to see some of the Eastern influence with the Centaurus Festival. And this is really where it starts to blend back and forth. One of my favorite ones was probably when they got off at that one station.
Okay, yeah.
They got off at the station, and it looked very much like a deserted version of their town square. And there was a staircase where it just took them down to an area, and they just kept on going further and further down until eventually you realize they're going back in time. And they're finding a sandy shore by this really like cool mystical river. But one of the cool things is they actually give little subtitles in between each and every scene. Like, it's a movie where
almost like a chapter break, but it's not really.
Yeah, it does that. And then the black screen with the subtitle. It was nice the way it was done. It was very nice the way it was designed. But they get to an area where there's miners exploring the events of like 1.2 million years in the past, right?
Yeah.
Wasn't that pretty cool with all the walnuts and everything?
I was going to say there was walnuts for whatever reason. Giovanni grabs a walnut, which I thought, why not? Let's grab a souvenir.
Yeah, right?
The crazy thing is when they headed back to the train, because he can't just stay there, obviously.
No, they have 20 minutes there, which really felt like it would.
Felt longer.
It had to have been longer for them because of how many stairs they went down.
Time's relative, I think, on this train.
Well, that's the whole thing. You start to think that, is this literally a lesson? Like, are they on this together as a lesson, exploring through time and space, right?
Right? That's kind of what I was feeling. I was like, okay, they're learning stuff here. They're kids growing up. Giovanni's not the most well-off, so he's definitely learning a lot of cool stuff. I don't know much about Campanella, but that's okay. He seems cool.
Well, his family's rich because
that's right.
He had a train that was powered by alcohol. So
yeah, that's right.
And Giovanni thought it was the coolest thing in the world.
And it probably was.
They were friends their whole lives and everything. And his father would always take him over to visit Campanella and his father. When you see Campanella's father at the end, you see him in a nice like three-piece suit.
Oh, that's fair.
Right?
And he's got maybe a pocket watch, like a chain thing going on or something.
A top hat thing going on too.
He's fancy, definitely. Compared to poor Giovanni's just wearing like a little vest.
Yeah. And that scene is followed up with a scene with the bird catcher and Lighthouse Man. Tell us a little bit about those characters.
It was so weird. So the bird catchers, that's just what he's called. Just, this train is empty, okay? At this point, there is 2 young boys on this train, and the bird catcher's like, can I sit here? Like, that's not weird. Get the whole train to yourself. You could have sat anywhere. But again, we're learning lessons here. We're not necessarily judging anyone. So he joins them, and they're just kind of chit-chatting, and he shows that he's a bird catcher, and he's getting ready to catch some more birds to sell. And they see it, and they're herons, because he has a bag, and he opens it up. And they're like, herons? Who eats herons? And he's like, everyone eats herons. Do you want to try? So he, like, breaks off a piece of the foot, which looked really weird because it glowed for a second when he broke it. I was like, what's in this heron?
What's in this 1980s creepy heron?
It literally snapped, glowed and snapped. So he hands it to the boys, and they're like, this is candy. I'm like, this is really some weird heron. So you see the bird catcher. Eventually, he gets up and goes, and they get to watch him catch these herons. They're just flying everywhere, like they're watching through the window of the train. These herons are just flying everywhere, and he's just trying to grab as many as he can to put in his bag, and some are falling to the ground and then just slowly disappearing. And I still don't understand why. I tried to look up kind of what was going on. I didn't really get a good answer.
There's a lot of symbolism all throughout of it, but and you see it clearly in a few different scenes. Like after that scene comes with the blind communicator who's picking up distant sounds from space. When they get back to their seats, they're kind of like what do these words mean together? And there's a nun there, and
Yeah,
she's
random
like,
nun.
that's hymn 406. And she starts singing, like, I think Closer, My God, to Thee or something.
Something like that.
I think it was that. And I was like, wow, okay. So we're really kind of embracing tying this all together.
I want to say, though, it seemed weird and creepy to me. I was like,
Well-
why is she singing this hymn in the middle of this? And like the music also.
Oh,
creepy.
talk about the music.
Oh my
Talk about the
gosh.
soundtrack, sound
Absolutely
effects, and everything.
Love it. And I'm terrified at the same time. Not terrified. It's just got this overwhelming, like,
Eerie.
Like, if you like things that are just kind of unexplained, a little weird, eerie, this is your movie. This one's for you.
They do an excellent job with the soundtrack. The
Mhm.
soundtrack and the sound effects are more in your face than the words because they
Yeah.
use as few words as possible to make as much of an impact as possible, or at least to make a really strong impact.
And I feel like some people might be like, this is so slow. They're just staring out the window.
Well, it is slow.
Yeah, but if you feel like, oh, it's so slow, listen to the music and get the vibe, because that's what the music's for.
Yeah. And if you like what you're hearing so far, remember to check us out on social media, like, subscribe, and follow. And this movie is on Crunchyroll right now, and that's where we watched it. So we started to talk about some of the things with the Northern Cross and the hymn and Centaurus. And one of the things that eventually comes up is there are two kids and an adult, humans, that come onto this train. And as they're talking and telling their story, well, you start to realize they were on the Titanic.
Yeah, I was like, I said it out loud because I was so confident. Just the little hints and the little clues. I mean, the iceberg, any ship can get hit an iceberg, but other things that, like, the caretaker of the two children said. And I was just like, oh, this is getting dark.
Yeah, so now you're not only going through the journey of time and space, but you're also going through the journey of life too.
Yeah, because the caretaker explains that
all the lessons getting woven in and out, right?
Yeah.
And while the little girl is on there, she gives the story of Scorpius.
So we find out that Scorpius had a chance to really do something amazing, do something incredible at the cost of its own life.
Yeah.
And Scorpius didn't want to do that. So it continued its life, did not do the great thing, and eventually fell down in a well, couldn't get back up. So as Scorpius was dying, he just realized that I just wasted away my life. I could have done something great, and instead I'm just dying in this well. So it's kind of rough there for a second. Another little dark overture, but also, like, makes you think.
And then shortly after that, a lot of the train just exits because they get to the Southern Cross and the Hallelujah Chorus.
Oh my gosh, the actual Hallelujah Chorus. I was like,
and
what?
I'm like, we're talking about Centaurus and Scorpius and Hymn 406, the Hallelujah Chorus all blended in, but it like so seamlessly fit together.
In its own weird, eerie way.
Yeah, right? It just kind of connected really well. And after that, it's literally just Giovanni and Campanella left on the train. And here's where we're going to give you guys a chance to check out.
Yeah.
Because we strongly recommend you watch the movie and then you come back for what we're talking about next. However, if you already want to know more about it and you don't necessarily want to watch it because we did mention it's Soul Place, we did mention it's 1985, so on and so forth, then you can just stay and continue to listen right now. So we're going to give you one more moment. And now we're coming back at you with the hard spoilers of the end. By this point in time, you are severely questioning whether this was a journey about time and space and learning versus whether this was a train to the afterlife.
Yeah.
And one of the things that I noticed, like, when everyone was getting off and everything, and Campanella and Giovanni were the only ones left, there was an earlier scene with the ticket master.
Oh, yeah.
And everyone had very similar tickets except for Giovanni. And he's like, oh my goodness, what you do? Get this ticket in the third dimension? And he's like, this ticket allows you to go anywhere and back. And up to that point in time, Giovanni has been under the assumption that they were just going to the end of the universe and
Yeah.
then returning afterwards. And Campanella allowed him to think that. Give us some of the other signs along the way that lead to this moment.
So early on, when Campanella joins Giovanni on the train, first thing, he says he got his ticket from the train station. Second thing, after he takes a moment to sit down, he kind of like brushes something off his shoulder. I couldn't quite tell what it was then, but when we were visited by the people who didn't survive the Titanic, they are brushing something similar off themselves, and it was water. So at that point, like, I kind of made a little bit of a connection, like, oh, there's something there. Like, what was it that he brushed? He was brushing water off of himself. And then Giovanni tells Campanella, this is really fun. We should just keep riding this train, be on this train forever. And the first real hard emotion hits as Campanella gets this incredibly sad, tearful look in his eye. And at that point, I'm like, one of these guys is dead if they're not both dead.
Yeah, and you start to realize that Campanella, when Giovanni asked, "Are the others coming?" He was like, "Well, Izanelli tried to come along and keep up with me, but he wasn't able to, and he's at home now, and all the other ones didn't even come close to catching the train." And at that point in time, you realize that Campanella was the only one who caught the train at the station because it was the station of the end of life. And the thing where Izanelli almost caught it, well, that's because they were out on a boat during the Centaurus Festival. Izanelli falls in. Campanella dives in, saves Izanelli, and he drowns.
Gets pulled off by the river.
And as you look back, and we're not going to give every single detail,
Yeah.
but we're actually going to link a few things in these show notes this time around because there were some channels that helped explain things further to us and point out some of the similarities, and we're going to give some credit to them afterwards. So remember to check the show notes for
Definitely.
the show. But you start to realize this whole story was Giovanni being able to share Campanella's last moments with him because of the bond that they shared together.
Mm.
You can think for a moment that, he didn't get off when everyone else got off and they were singing the Hallelujah chorus and going to what was effectively heaven. Campanella got off at a point that looked like it was a void.
Well, to Giovanni, it looked like it was a void. I feel like maybe because Giovanni was alive, they weren't seeing the same things at that point.
They definitely weren't seeing the same things. They were taking two different journeys at the same exact time and sharing the final moments of Campanella's life together. We only know that Campanella saw how beautiful it was and how he was eager to rejoin his mom. And like one of the things that really, kind of afterwards makes me tear up about it is that early on he makes a reference. He's like, I hope my mom can forgive me.
Yeah. Sorry to start crying now.
He's like,
that one was
because
rough.
I hope this makes her happy because I did good. Because you can never truly make someone happy without doing good. And you realize that good was saving Izanelli's life. And that the thing that might have her not happy is the fact that her little boy died prematurely like she did. Man, is there anything else you want to add about that ending or about Miyazawa at all? Or
I mean, while we were kind of like digging out, because at first when the movie ended, I was like, I'm not sure if I'm a fan of this or not. Like, I don't know what I'm going to say when we do this podcast. And then I dug a little deeper and found out that Miyazawa wrote this in response to his own loss.
His sister.
Yeah. And I was like, well, this puts so much perspective on this story. And it made me just actually really appreciate it. And I just kind of was like, yeah, no, this guy was grieving and he made this pretty eerie. Yes, maybe the eeriness was done more by the production of the show. I might actually try to see if I can find this book. I work at a library, so maybe I can.
They point out that historians tried really hard to decipher because this wasn't the completed work. He was working on it from 1927 to 1933. And this was based off his fourth draft. There might have been a fifth or a sixth. The fourth was probably the clearest and whatnot. This was an incomplete work that was published after his death.
Mm-hmm.
And it really kind of gives you insight to his journey of loss, spending those final moments with his sister, paralleling him to Giovanni and his sister to Campanella. And
It adds some good perspective.
it's beautiful, it's eerie, it's sad, all at the same exact time.
Mm-hmm.
And really, that's kind of what this was, right?
Yeah.
Was it the best movie I've ever watched? No. Will I watch it again? Probably not.
It was worth watching, though.
Yeah, I'm glad I went through the journey, and I'm glad I took the time to try to fill in the gaps afterwards, because it really just kind of finished the story out together, but flushed the story out really well. Told the story of the final moments before death beautifully.
Agreed. I think we summed it up really well. I don't know if you want to say what actually happens with Giovanni at the end or anything like that.
It doesn't end.
Yeah. Giovanni finds out what happened with Campanella and he starts to head back to get the milk for his mom and stuff like that. But like the cool thing is Giovanni's got this like running monologue while he's doing this, and he decides that he's gonna live his life to the fullest. He just decided that if the sacrificial play is what's needed, that he will be willing to do it. And that's
He's going to live his life like Campanella, not
yeah, I'll
Scorpius.
say that's exactly what Campanella did. So I
Yep.
mean, it was a good lesson for him to learn, and it was as a whole, it was a weird, eerie, but pretty cool movie.
The important lesson learned and the important journey gone on. It's excellent. We recommend
Yes,
that you watch
definitely.
it and maybe just take the time to learn a little. Okay, so once again, we met our main character, Giovanni, and we learned about his life with his sick mother and his father who has gone away, his bully, Isanelli, and his best friend, Campanella, and the final moments that they get to share with each other. We then started to go on the journey with the train across the Galactic Railroad, exploring the past, time, space, and ultimately the afterlife, weaving the themes of Eastern and Western so seamlessly before we learn that these are Giovanni's final moments with Campanella before he heads to the afterlife. We hope you enjoyed Night on the Galactic Railroad as much as we have, and consider watching this movie. Bye. So if you like what you heard today, make sure you listen to us on YouTube, Spotify, Apple, or wherever you stream your podcast. Listen to all of our J-Mill for Real podcasts. And hit us up on social media, like, subscribe, and follow. Once again, this was Exploring Anime with Friends. Let's explore together. And now for a word from our sponsors. And today's show was brought to you by Dubby Energy, a modern approach to energy drinks with no sugar, dyes, or fillers added. Dubby Energy, be better. And use code ExploringAnime524 for 10% off your order. That's ExploringAnime524, one word, all capital letters, for 10% off your latest Dubby Energy order. Link listed in the show notes.